Y'all know what time it is, man. We're back ranking the best and the worst UFC champions from 2015 to now. And it's not just the best and the worst. We're going over every single UFC champ from the past decade. I'm not in the mood to do another 3-minute intro. You have eyes. God bless you. You can read the title. You know what's up. If you want the criteria from the last part, boom, here it is. This is what I'm judging the champions off of. We're here to rank the best and the worst. And if you want to know the champions from last time and how I ranked it, boom, here's the video. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. We're about to jump into the tier list. So just starting off with the first one we got, it's the OGs of all motherfucking OGs. It's your dad's favorite fighter. He's the grunkle at the cookout. It's Robbie Lawler, okay? And I'm going to put respect in him. I mean, I know it might be a sensitive subject for the Lawler fans, but I'm going to tip my Ben Askren throw to him. And I'm going to put him in the B tier. Very good champion. I just feel like the things that held me back from putting him up higher is the fact that it wasn't too long of a reign, okay? He showed up. He gave his life and soul for us. His family was fucking worried to death. And then he just lost the belt. It wasn't too long of a reign. It was very memorable. It was very iconic. You got the picture with him and Rory McDonald, the face-off. And on top of that, that fight, a lot of people say it's one of the best fights of that era or one of the best fights of all time. And the same could be said against his second defense against Carlos Condit. Fantastic fight that could feed generations, okay? But speaking of that Condit fight, it was fantastic, but it kind of leads to another part of the problem besides the short title reign with Lawler's reign on top. It's that the win against Hendricks to actually win the belt was very close, and a lot of people thought it could have went the other way. And the fight with Condit, again, now we're talking, this is already 2/3 of his reign successfully. A lot of people thought that Carlos Condit won that fight. I mean, I get the argument for Robbie Lawler, but you got to look at the numbers alone. I mean, I get that each round wins the fight, but Carlos Condit outstruck Robbie Lawler by fucking double, and Robbie Lawler landed almost 100 fucking strikes. So you know what I'm saying? So it was a very fun title reign. It was very memorable. All the hardcores and all the unks, they love cracking a beer to the Robbie Lawler title reign. But honestly, it was a bit short-lived. It was enjoyable what we did get out of it. We got very fun fights every single time, but it kind of just got cut short by T-Wood, and then T-Wood kind of took over, and in general, a bit of too many controversial decisions and a bit too short-lived, but it was very fun. We got banger after banger, and I tip my hat, or my fro, whatever the fuck, to Robbie Lawler, okay? Moving on up next to T-Wood, I'm going to put Tyron Woodley. Honestly, one of the most disrespected legacies of all time. One of the more like people forget, man, kind of picks here. But I'm going to put him in the B tier. I remember at the time, I did not like T-Wood, bro. Like, Kamaru Usman, who I'm about to get to, at least and even Islam Makhachev, these are guys who, like, they touched the belt. And I wasn't a fan of them when they got the belt. But as they developed and as they grew into being a champion, I became a fan. But with Tyron Woodley, man, it's almost like, and I get that I was just getting into the sport at the time. But, dude, I couldn't wait for this motherfucker to lose. Every time he even won, even if he was doing a domination clinic, he would find some way to complain and some way to like just find an excuse about something. There wasn't really a buzz in the air when Tyron Woodley was facing like the Damian Maias and shit like that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to put him in the B tier because he was a very successful champion. I do think that people overshit on his legacy, or I guess don't put enough respect on his legacy, man. I think that he's a top 5, top 7, maybe greatest welterweights of all time. He's got a pretty good resume. I know the fall off speaks for itself, but in terms of him being a champion, he was relatively active. He had kind of hit or misses because sometimes he was so exciting and would get crazy knockouts or wars against Stephen Thompson. I remember, not to fucking push on my fake hardcore glasses here, but I remember for the longest time, for a couple of years early on, Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Thompson at UFC 205 was my favorite fight, okay? So T-Wood was capable of like knocking out Robbie Lawler, having fun fights like that. He was capable of that shit, but at the same time, he had stinkers against Maia, and the legacy as a whole, yes, like he did defend the belt a few times. Yes, he was successful, but as a champion, he just wasn't too ideal. And I do think there's guys like Kamaru Usman, like GSP, even a Matt Hughes that you could put above him in the grand scheme of things for his weight class. So he did good things at the time, but I feel like his wins are kind of aging more poorly. I'll respect it, but just a bit of too much of a yapper of a champion. And that's tier yapper. I'm not talking about like a good Conor McGregor way, okay? Moving on up next to Kamaru Usman. I'm coming all night, T-Wood. Pause. I'm going to put Kamaru Usman in the fucking A tier. I kind of just mentioned this, but dude, Kamaru Usman, I was not a fan of him when he was saying, T-Wood was talking shit to him and like, what are you going to do to me? Are you going to outstrike me? You can't out-wrestle me. You can't do shit. And then it just cuts to like the hardcore edits of all of a sudden Kamaru Usman, he's outstriking him and he's piecing him up and he's taking him down, bouncing him on his fucking forehead, okay? And Kamaru Usman immediately did kind of gain that aura to him, but it was really about halfway through the title run where everyone started turning their heads, okay? Like all of a sudden, that knockout against Masvidal, specifically in the rematch, dude, everybody started turning the other way. And it's easy now to say, oh, Kamaru Usman's overrated, or, oh, Kamaru Usman, he's washed, whatever the fuck. But if this guy beat Leon Edwards, we'd be in a crazy different timeline, okay? Dr. Strange is twitching the fuck out at the thought of it, because genuinely, Kamaru Usman was 1 minute away from a lot of people. Lucas Tracy would have went fucking insane about Kamaru Usman becoming the GOAT of the division. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were saying at the time that win alone could have surpassed GSP, so I don't want to take away from the legacy of Usman. Great champion, relatively active. The title run was entertaining. He fought a lot of the top contenders, but I guess speaking of the contenders, that kind of prevents me from putting him in S, because it was a lot of rematches. Like the rematch against Masvidal, what are we doing? The rematch against Covington, what are we doing? Okay. And then just losing it to Edwards, and the Edwards fight was a rematch. Like, I feel like there were other contenders that Kamaru Usman probably could have fought, but it's easier to say that now, okay? If you want to put Usman in S and say that, oh no, he did fight anybody, like Covington was only there and Masvidal was only there because he had no choice. He already was beating everyone else in the division. So I know what you're saying. I think that's fair, but in general, I think Kamaru Usman had a great title reign and was very successful, second greatest welterweight of all time, but at the same time, it wasn't like the craziest thing we'd ever fucking seen, okay? Not all the wins are exactly aging very well, and yes, some of the performances were very entertaining, but you did get a stinker here and there, okay? Like the Woodley fight, it was a domination clinic, but it wasn't anything crazy, and the fight against Jorge Masvidal the first time, it just was a fucking stinker, and Usman, he was a great champion, he's worthy of being in the A tier, but I feel like there were a couple things that are holding me back from putting him in S, but I did enjoy his reign. And he makes the guys that I'm about to talk about next that ended up carrying the belt after look like goddamn terrorists to the sport. Literal fucking doomsday devices, okay? Specifically these next two I'm about to talk about, man. Let's talk about them real quick. Leon Mumblemouth Edwards and fucking Belal Muhammad. Hey, you know, I should still be the real champ, you know? I went out there and I went against the game plan, you know? I got the best hands in the UFC. I'm better than Canelo. Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, I mean, what can I say about these two? I'm gonna kind of put them together a little bit here, except Leon Edwards I'm gonna put in the D tier, and Belal Muhammad I'm gonna put in the C tier. With Belal Muhammad, what I can respect about him winning the belt is that he did immediately try to be active. He tried to pull what Marab ended up being successful with. It was almost like a parallel of each other. Very similar, but he tried to do that quick turnaround. UFC 310 against Shavkat Rakhmonov, so I can appreciate that. It's not his fault that he got injured, and the first chance he had to come back was around April or May, and he ended up coming back against JDM. So in terms of activity and fighting all the top contenders, like, I gotta give it to Belal Muhammad, okay? He was willing to take on the boogeyman in Shavkat. He wanted that fight. He went out there and pieced up fucking Leon Edwards in an underratedly entertaining fight, to be honest, even though he was a big fucking underdog. And against JDM, it was a really fun fight. I understand that Belal was very unsuccessful with the belt. I understand that he was kind of a nightmare champion when he won the belt. You're like, Jesus fucking Christ, we're getting Belal Muhammad as champion before GTA 6. Somebody kill me. But genuinely, Belal as champion, it was just a very odd twist of fate. Like, I kind of hated it, but in a weird way, Chad, I'm like, you know what, Belal with the belt, I know it's not going to last too long. This fever dream is going to end eventually. Let's just run with it, okay? It was pretty all right. We didn't have to deal with Belal Muhammad being champ for too long, and for what it was, we got a pretty fucking fun fight out of it against JDM, and we almost got to see him versus Shavkat. So I can respect Belal's attitude as a champion. He was very just unsuccessful with it, okay? You know what, boys? I gotta put Belal Muhammad in D. I don't know why I'm talking about it like I'm spirit to spirit with him, like I'm owing him the C tier. I just respected the attitude, but honestly, it'd be unfair to all the other champions that are in D or are about to be in D if I put him in C, because he really didn't technically do anything with the title. He won it, and he was very unsuccessful with it. So honestly, I just went on that whole rant about how Belal should be in C. I respected the grit, but honestly, I'm gonna move him down to the D tier with motherfucking Leon Edwards. I'm sorry, and man. Moving on to Leon Mumblemouth Edwards, bruv. I want to rematch Kobe Covington, bruv. I simply believe I'm the best in the world. Headshot dead, bruv. Headshot dead. Shut the actual fuck up, dude. I can't stand Leon Edwards. I'm happy to put him in the D tier. I understand that Leon Edwards was more successful than Belal Muhammad, though. I understand that. Leon Edwards at least beat Kamaru Usman. That's a fantastic win. That's technically a better win than any win that fucking Belal Muhammad has had. So he beat Usman twice, looked really fucking good in their trilogy fight, the third one, and then he came back against Covington. And Covington, on paper, he was like the blueprint. He was like supposed to be the weapon that could defeat Leon Edwards, but it actually took Belal Muhammad to actually apply that grit, cardio, and wrestling. But Kobe Covington, we thought it was a good win at the time, but it just really wasn't, man. It was a stinker of a fight, and Leon Edwards was just a bit of an inactive champion. He fought every like 8 or 9 months, and I'm not saying that's absolutely terrible, but that accounts to kind of like once a fucking year, man. So with how stacked welterweight was and how quickly the division was moving, to have a guy like Leon Edwards on top, who's boring as fuck. I would say he's more boring than a guy like Bilal Muhammad, and I'll fucking stand my base on that. Stand your base! He was inactive. He was relatively pretty unsuccessful besides the Kamaru Usman title win, and even then, we're not fucking, Kamaru Usman has lost again since then, so it's not anything fucking crazy anymore, but still, it is an Usman win. I gotta give it to him. It's a fantastic way to win the belt, but in terms of him being a champion, he was the nightmare, man. Boring style, inactive, and was trying to duck the top contenders. He didn't even want all the smoke from Bilal Muhammad. Remember that shit? How Bilal almost didn't get the fucking fight, so I just can't respect the attitude that Leon Edwards had as the champion. Relies heavily, I feel like, on the headshot dead bruv champ thing, and as soon as he lost the belt, all of a sudden, where are the Leon Edwards fans? Where are they? I haven't fucking seen any since, you know what I mean? So moving on up next, moving on now to the middleweight division. We're going to be starting off with, and here we go, dude, okay? Talk about the belt being passed around like it's a fucking slut, because these next few years of the middleweight title are just all fucking over the place. But it starts with Chris Weidman, okay? As soon as Anderson Silva, his long reign on top finally ended, dude, it was just downhill for everybody else, okay? I'm going to put Chris Weidman here in the C tier. I feel like in the grand scheme of all the middleweight champions, he's about as far from middleweight GOAT status as you can get for him actually winning the belt. Like Chris Weidman, I don't think it's like a T Wood, like, oh, he should be talked about more, and people forget, man, he was the champ, and people forget about his legacy. I get that Chris Weidman used to be a really fucking good fighter. I get that he was on a crazy win streak. His resume technically is pretty fucking good, okay? He's got the wins over Damian Maia, Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, Vitor Belfort. Like, the title reign was solid. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. But in the grand scheme of his division, like, it's such a forgotten about title reign, and I'm not even gonna say that in terms of like, oh, it should be talked about more. It's disrespected. It just genuinely, there wasn't much to it. I'm not trying to be that people forget, man, kind of guy, because it was a great knockout over Vitor Belfort, okay? Great defense. It was a great fight and a great war against Lyoto Machida. And then to be able to knock out Anderson Silva back to back after he was on a tear for years and years. It's a great thing to do. At the time, like in these 2013 and 2015 kind of vibes, obviously Chris Weidman was fucking excelling, but I just feel like comparatively to other champions, man, he just wasn't doing too much, and I feel like his legacy does rely on the fact that he was the guy. He was the one in 21-1 to be able to beat Anderson Silva, or whatever the fuck the Undertaker shit was. Anderson Silva practically was the Brazilian Undertaker back in the day, but still, he was able to defend the belt 2 or 3 times, so I gotta respect that. And in general, he was getting bonuses. He did get a couple of finishes, so I gotta respect it, but in the grand scheme, he just didn't do too much with the belt for his division. It just wasn't that memorable of a reign. Sure, he got more title defenses than the other guys in the C tier, but I just feel like the quality of wins are about the fucking same. You know what I mean? So moving on next to Luke Rockhold. I gotta put Luke Rockhold in the fucking D tier. I'm sorry. The fact that this guy won the belt, he was supposed to be the Sean O'Malley before Sean O'Malley. This guy's got the best striking. He's got hands of steel. He's the pretty boy. And also that, Luke Rockhold, he was well-rounded. He was supposed to be the next fucking prodigy for the division, because at least Weidman went on a little bit of a run, okay? And then Silva was on top for years, so it seemed like Rockhold was just, it was like a passing of the torch, but he fucking let it go. First title defense, he's talking about to Bisping, like, you have to believe and conceive in your dreams, and then Bisping just cooks him on the mic. It was great build-up. The guys had such a genuine beef. It was one of the most entertaining build-ups I've ever witnessed as a fan. Rockhold versus Bisping, the rematch, okay? So I can appreciate that. It was an entertaining build-up, and it was a nasty as fuck, sick knockout. It was an impressive performance over Chris Weidman, the actual knockout to get the belt, but it was just so short-lived with Luke Rockhold, okay? It was one of these guys, like a Cody Garbrandt, where they grab the belt, they touch the belt, they have it, they could say they were the champion, and then they just fucking lose it, and then they just kind of branch off, and then they just go on this big downhill skid, because that's what Luke Rockhold did. He literally didn't do anything with the belt, and you could say it was entertaining. He got a sick knockout out of it, and then he got knocked the fuck out in a brutal way, but at least it was a good beef. So you could argue, at least we got entertainment out of the reign of Luke Rockhold, but in terms of it being a champion, we didn't get much. He kind of dropped the fucking ball. And let's be honest, like, Michael Bisping was not supposed to beat him that night, okay? But he did. We're in that fucking timeline. So I'm going to put Rockhold, unfortunately, in the D tier. I forget he was a literal fucking champion. Moving on up next to Michael Bisping. Rebecca, I forgot I was the fucking champ. I'm going to put Michael Bisping in the D tier as well. I'm sorry, man. I respect the attitude that Bisping had as the champion. He was trying to sell the fights against Henderson and against GSP. I enjoy the build-up between him and GSP, and that fight had some fucking aura, okay? But in general, like, Bisping as champion, it was interesting to say the fucking least, but it wasn't too memorable, man. Like, he was one of these guys where, like I just said, talking about the Rockhold fight, like, he wasn't wasn't supposed to win the fight. We just ended up in that fucking timeline, okay? But Michael Bisping, he got a great, fun as fuck knockout over Luke Rockhold. That was amazing to see. Again, it was a huge upset, and the fact that Luke Rockhold dropped the ball that badly and just choked him. Bisping is just screaming, and he's drinking beers after the post-fight presser. Remember, instead of the post-fight pressers, when they used to not do it like one by one, like it was a fucking meet and greet, like when they literally had the fighters after they just beat the shit out of each other or just knocked each other out, they were just sitting in between, like Dana White was just in between them or some shit, or like a John Anik. It's funny as fuck, dude. That was, but Bisping in general, crazy knockout, but like it just was a title reign that it gets just so easily overshadowed by other middleweight champions. There's so many middleweight champions that have done way more than Michael Bisping. And the thing is, he did get a title defense in, but I don't rate it highly at all. I rate it the same as like a John Jones title defense over Anthony fucking Smith, because it was over number 14 ranked Dan Henderson. They just did it because of the location. They just sin location, but they did it because of that. They did it because let's squeeze what we can out of that UK market. Let's squeeze what we can out of the first UK champ. Let's squeeze what we can out of that for Bisping. Let's give, these guys have similar beef. It's like a way for Bisping to redeem himself as the champ, and it ended up just kind of being a stinker of a fight. It was basically equivalent to like, that was the 2016 version of O'Malley's title defense against Cheeto Vera. You're questioning how the fuck that was even a title fight and how Cheeto made his way to contention, but Dana White's like, yeah, what was the question? You better shut your bitch ass up before I put my balls on your forehead. So in general, it was a very weird title defense from Bisping, and then he goes on to have a great fight against GSP for as long as it lasted. The build-up was great, but in general, gets submitted. So Michael Bisping, it just feels like he did the most with what he could with the belt, but comparatively to other champions and other guys in his division, it just didn't stand out too much as a reign. It was fun to see, but it wasn't anything bucket record-breaking here, okay? So I'm going to put Bisping, unfortunately, in the D tier. Rebecca, get me the fuck out of here. I'm in the fucking D tier. Moving on up next to George St. Pierre. I got to put George St. Pierre in the D tier as well, because frankly, man, I mean, the whole embodiment of the D tier is really just not doing much with the title. And frankly, GSP just didn't do anything with the belt. I respect the guy a lot. He was a great champion, great attitude, great mindset. But let's be honest, he wasn't fighting the most ideal competition. He could have fought T Wood at 170, but he chose to fight Bisping at 185. I get it. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, okay? It was a great win over Bisping. Bisping was still, kind of on a run. He did beat Rockhold and Henderson, all those fucking guys, even Anderson fucking Silva. But GSP, he grabbed the belt. He did it for legacy's sake. He did it to prove that he could. And unlike John Jones doing the same thing against Cyril Gane, at least he relinquished the belt. At least he gave it up and let the division continue to cook. So GSP, he purely did it to prove his legacy and attain that double champ status. And I'm glad he did. Good build-up, good fight. But again, he just did it for that legacy. He was coming off of like a 3 or 4 year layoff. You know what I mean? So meant a lot. It was important for his legacy, but he just relinquished the belt right after. So there's not much to say. This is probably the most blissful D tier I could give him. You know what I mean? So moving on up next to Robert Whitaker. Y'all are gonna fucking hate me, bro. Y'all are gonna hate me for this one. I gotta put Robert Whitaker in the D tier, bro. I'm sorry. I'm just comparing them to other champions, okay? I have to put Robert Whitaker in the D tier. He got promoted from interim champion, undisputed, and then the fight against Yoel Romero, the second time at least, it was another barn burner. Both the fights against Romero were very fucking fun, very exciting, great to see, okay? But really, that was it. Whitaker's whole title run, and just in general, if you want to call it that, was the fights against Yoel Romero, and then he got knocked out by Israel Adesanya, who then went on a crazy tear. So for Whitaker, he's like a Piotr Jan. He's like a Piotr fucking Jan, where most of their wins on their resume, you look at the resume of Whitaker and Jan, you go, holy shit, these guys are good. How long were they on top? And the answer is like a year, because like they got all of those wins from just beating the other contenders while somebody else was ruling the fucking division. For Whitaker, he had to deal with the Dricus Duplessis and the Adesanyas that were just beating him, and he just couldn't get past it, but he was beating everybody else. That's where Whitaker, most of his good wins and notable wins come from. It's outside of the actual title fights. The fights that he put on against Yoel Romero were so fucking good, so entertaining. If you haven't given them a shot, please go back and rewatch them. But unfortunately, for as big of a fan as I am of Robert Whitaker, it breaks my heart, he didn't do too much with the title, okay? He's one of these guys that you could say he was a former champ, but you can't name more than one defense because he never made it that far, you know what I mean? I'm sorry to Bobby Knuckles, okay? I am, but moving on up next to the real-life fucking anime character, okay? The dude that thinks he's Sasuke, but he's actually someone out of fucking JoJo, probably. It's Israel Adesanya. I'm gonna put him in the B tier. Second or third greatest middleweight of all time. I mean, I'd only put like Silva and DDP above him. Other than that, man, I think he had a bunch of stinkers, and that's why I'm not going to put him in SRA. He was on top for very long. He did great things for his division. He cleared out his division. He was unsuccessful moving up, but at least he had the right to do that. And he was racking up so many title defenses. But let's be fucking honest. For as many Alex Pereira and Robert Whittaker and Derek Brunson finishes sprinkled in there as there were, you also had the Jared Cannonier stinker, the Marvin Vettori stinker, the Yoel Romero stinker. Like there was, and then even the rematch against Whittaker wasn't anything too crazy. So it's like a lot of these fights that Israel Adesanya had on top. Like, look at what he did to Carlos Ulberg. Look what he did to our boy. Like, he developed him into that patient, technical, heavy, on the back foot kickboxing style. And it works wonders for these fucking guys. They fucking excel at it. But in terms of entertainment for the fans, it's not the fucking best. If you're an Israel Adesanya fan or a diehard, of course you're going to put him in the yes or wherever the fuck, okay? And even if you're not some Israel Adesanya hardcore, there is a genuine argument that because of the entertaining fights and performances he did have, and because the fact that he was on top for so long, he could be an S or A. But for me personally, I appreciated that he at least tried to hype up the fights. I appreciated that there was trash talk half the fucking time, or at least he was trying to sell it. But it just didn't work, man. It's the same way like Sean O'Malley can try and sell a fight, but that doesn't mean you want to fucking listen to it. You know what I mean? So Israel Adesanya was very successful, and he was very hit or miss with entertainment. But dude, there's guys like Silva and DDP that are above him, and he had just so many fucking stinkers to where, yes, he was very active, extremely active, and did clear out his division. I can respect and love that, but you know what I'm saying? It was a good reign, but I'm not gonna lie, it just wasn't the most enjoyable to watch, okay? And you could already see a lot of people just kind of moving on from it now, okay? I respect the legacy, top 3 middleweight of all time. He did great fucking things. He's one of the best kickboxers of all fucking time, or at the very least, he was at that time, but there are just a lot of other champions that I could just put above him. You know what I'm saying? So, moving on up next to Sean Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. I'm gonna go out there and I just whooped the Flying Dutchman for you guys. I'm gonna go out there to China and beat this man myself. I'm gonna do it for you guys. I'm gonna go to war for you fucking guys. Sean Strickland. What can I say, man? One of the biggest underdog wins of all fucking time. He pieced up Israel Adesanya, okay? He showed levels in the striking. It was crazy to see. He knocked him down in the first round. He has a really quick turnaround, and he goes in like, I mean, not enemy territory. Anywhere besides America's enemy territory for Sean Strickland. But I'm going to go there and fly into Canada for you fucking guys. And he goes out there and puts on a really fun, close, competitive fight against DDP and comes up short. So granted, it wasn't too bad of a reign for Strickland. I'm sorry, though, I got to put him in the D tier, okay? It's one of these champions. Now everybody's questioning how the hell did this guy win the belt? I'm not going to say that. Like, I think Sean Strickland, in terms of his skill set and his resume, he's fucking underrated. I think that DDP rematch did not do him any favors. I think the Costa fight did not do him any fucking favors. In terms of how much he hypes up, like, wanting to beat the shit out of people, those were just back-to-back letdowns, you know what I mean? So Strickland actually, as a champion, though, like the fight against Adesanya and the first fight against DDP, they both were enjoyable, but let's be honest, besides the shock of Strickland winning against Adesanya, it wasn't too great of a fight. Like, I put on my buddy to watch that fight at the same time, and it really summed up things for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone just watching that fight raw versus somebody who watches the fights every weekend, because I thought it was like, oh my God, did you see that? Strickland, the dude was pieced him the fuck up. The USA guy, it was a huge upset, and my buddy's just like, that was a shitty fight. Like, you showed me way better fights to watch, and this was just shit. And I'm like, okay, well, you might be fucking right here, okay? So Strickland, it was a good, crazy upset, and the fact that he made it so close against DDP is wild, but he just really didn't do anything with the belt. He was literally the champion for like 4 or 5 months. You know what I mean? It didn't last too long. I respect that he tried to get the fuck after it, but in both fights, you could say what you want about him, but he just didn't do too much with the belt at the end of the day. One of the more forgetful champions for the division, unfortunately, okay? Moving on up next to Dricus du Plessis, I gotta put DDP in the A tier, bro, okay? I loved DDP as champion. Like, when I just saw, like, the PNG, like, the picture for Chimaev with the belt the other day, I genuinely just got kind of sad, man. You know we're not gonna see him fight till, like, the White House card or next Abu Dhabi card or whatever the fuck next year. And Dricus du Plessis was taking on all the top contenders. He was starting to lap his division a little bit. Not lap his division, but if he beat Chimaev and he beat Imavov after that, who the fuck was gonna beat this guy? You know what I mean? DDP was so close to middleweight GOAT status, man. He was 1 or 2 away. The fight against Chimaev had so much hype going into it, but it was such a letdown. But in terms of the actual title run from DDP, I loved it. He was a genuine shit talker. He knew how to build up the fight. I felt like he deserved way more popularity and attention. But regardless, he put on a fun fight against Strickland the first time. He pieced him up and made massive improvements for their rematch and was just made it a fucking domination clinic. The fight against Adesanya was fun. I just wish we got to see more out of the reign from DDP. He became like the 2nd or 3rd greatest middleweight of all time. time. Again, he got very close to cracking that fucking glass Minecraft house of the GOAT status for the division, but unfortunately he just came up short. But he put on constant entertainment. He built up the fights properly and made genuine beef and was talking shit. I wish he could have beat Chimaev, man, and we could have seen DDP come back next fucking February. But it is what it is. I thoroughly enjoyed the reign of DDP. I don't know if he ever wins the belt back, but for what it was, my friend, thank you very much, okay? Entertainment, constant goofiness, and Looney Tunes bullshit, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Moving on now and getting to the light heavyweight champions, which similar to the middleweights, bro, it's a clusterfuck. There are so many after the Jon Jones era, even during the Jon Jones era. Jesus Christ, he was barely here himself. But speaking of which, man, the anti-Jon Jones himself, the hero of all heroes, the unsung dark horse of that top 10 GOAT status, it's Daniel Cormier, okay? Daniel Cormier was genuinely my first favorite fighter. Like, genuinely one of the guys that got me into the sport, the whole beef with him and Jones, that prime Jones versus DC 1 and 2, all that shit, okay? That 2015 and 2017 rivalry when they were doing the face-offs with Joe Rogan and talking shit about how they're gonna kill each other. Peak shit, peak rivalry. I beat you after a weekend of cocaine. It said so much now, but you had to be there, okay? I genuinely loved the rivalry. It was something that you're never gonna see again. And the thing is, it's such a cancer to DC's career, though, the way that to us, it's like something so beautiful. It's crazy because Jon Jones literally ruined DC's career in terms of what I feel like could have been. Like, the fact that he even did beat him and it was just like a brutal KO loss and he's crying on the mic after just to pop on roids once again after ruining UFC 200 and after dominating the first time. It was just a rough go for DC. All the bullshit emotionally and mentally that Jon Jones did to this man, okay? And he beat his ass unfortunately twice. Other than that, though, I mean, DC, I'm going to put him in the S tier. I got all due respect for DC, not just because I said that, you know, he kind of got me into the sport. He was my first favorite fighter, all that shit. I don't give a fuck, okay? Genuinely, what he did as a champion is what you want out of a champion. You got a rivalry that you see once in a fucking lifetime against Jones, which for him, unfortunately, is fucking rough. But for us, for the viewers, for the Rogans of the world, people forget, man, we fucking loved to see that shit, okay? And in terms of his title reign, I am going to merge it a little bit with heavyweight because he didn't even really do too much with the heavyweight belt, but he did kind of attain that double champ status. But still, man, as a light heavyweight champion, he was on it. He was an active champion. He fought multiple times a year besides 2016. And again, it goes back to how Jon Jones just fucked him. That was the year of UFC 200. He had to take on Anderson Silva up a weight class, like very short notice, or Silva was stepping up. You know what I'm fucking saying. It was crazy. It was bullshit. And that was the only kind of weak year that DC had as a champion. He didn't defend the belt because other than that, man, put on one of the best fights of that era against Alexander Gustafsson, a fucking war. He got a great submission over Anthony Johnson. He was defending the belt frequently. He got another submission over Anthony Johnson. And again, that's very difficult to fucking do. He could have lost his soul. Knocks out Volkan Ozdemir, moves up a weight class, takes on Stipe Miocic. He's a huge underdog and he somehow gets a round one knockout and then defends the heavyweight title. He was active. He had that good champion attitude. He was taking on all the top contenders. He was clearing out his division. He got double champ status and it didn't feel forced or bullshit. Like, he earned that shit, okay? And it was a great story. I'm sorry to be rambling about DC. I'm going to put him in the S here, okay? He was a great champion. He was very successful with it. And if Jones and Stipe didn't exist, he could be the fucking heavyweight or the light heavyweight GOAT. It's crazy to say the other timelines that DC could have lived in, but in this one, man, I'm still going to put him in the S here. He had damn near everything you wanted in a champion, okay? But moving on now to the literal devil, the literal antichrist of the sport, the literal doomsday device to the sport, Jon fucking Jones, the Hitler versus Stalin, except he's both. I'm gonna put Jon Jones in the C tier. He's the only one I'm going to put in the C tier, whether for the last video or this one specifically, that was so successful. He was so fucking successful as a champion, but I got to put him in the C tier. Just because of, I'm keeping in mind all the other bullshit. Because as a champion, like at the end of the day, what we're ranking is the best champions go on top and the worst champions go in the bottom. And Jon Jones was as far from an ideal champion as you could have fucking gotten, okay? The heavyweight run alone, I'm going to keep in a little bit of count in this, okay? I'm mostly focusing on light heavyweight. That was most of his fucking title running career. But even then, when he was like the youngest champ ever in the first few years of his reign, of course, Jon Jones, it was nothing but impressive. When he's beating up Rampage and beating up all the legends, Chael Sonnen and Rashad Evans and Lyoto Machida. I mean, Joe Rogan was having a literal aneurysm during the Alexander Gustafsson fight, okay? That like early 2010s kind of period for Jon Jones, he was a good champion. He was getting a lot of finishes. He was being pretty relatively active. It was very impressive what he was doing. But dude, once he got to that just DC rivalry, it was after like the Clover Dish era performance and shit, dude. Once he got to DC, that's where it all just became downhill. And I gotta keep that in such a big part of his career because that was like half of it, okay? From 2015 to 2025, Jon Jones was just kind of an embarrassment to the fucking sport. I'm sorry, but I'm fucking not, okay? Everything he did to DC, all the bullshit, the pulling out of so many events, the popping of the roids, the moving the locations for the Gustafsson rematch because, again, he was just popping and they were being fucking crazy with that shit just to get this guy a fight because the commission wouldn't book him. The controversial decision that he ended up fucking losing to, if you watch that fight, most people thought that he fucking lost to Dominic Reyes. Close fight against Thiago Santos. He's defended against like Anthony Smith at the end and shit, you know what I mean? And no contest because he fucking popped against DC in the rematch, which would have been the best win of his career, but you can't even fucking count it for a lot of people, you know what I mean? Beating, and then just the heavyweight run alone, just not fighting Francis Ngannou, not fighting Tom Aspinall as well. Like literally he fought Stipe Miocic after like he was not fighting for 3 or 4 years instead of fighting the actual interim champion, the longest interim champion in history. That happened only because of Jon Jones stalling out the division, becoming the longest champion for the division's history, even though he only defended it half as much as the guy before. It's fucking crazy to say, man. I just feel like genuinely when Jon Jones was involved at the top, bad shit was happening. You didn't know if he was reliable. You didn't know what the next bullshit thing was going to be. He's doing hit and runs with pregnant ladies. And I know that I shouldn't be counting all the other bullshit outside of the cage. It's just how he is as a champion, right? His fighting style for half of his fucking career, man, just wasn't it. He wasn't some knockout artist. He wasn't some finishing artist. If he didn't hate you to the point of like a DC level from 2015 and beyond, you were getting a pitter-patter decision against Jon fucking Jones. You know what I mean? In terms of his success, yes, he should be in the S tier. He should be in the S fucking plus tier based off of his defenses in terms of the numbers and the resume. Of course, he should be at the very fucking top. In terms of skills, in terms of being well-rounded, in terms of dominance on top, not dominance, but being on top and remaining on top for so long, he should be in his own fucking tier. Genuinely, and I fucking mean that. As much as I hate Jones, I do respect the legacy, but in terms of him as a champion, for us as the fans, and for Dana fucking White, and for the opponents on the other side of the cage, dude, even for Jones himself and all the fucking demons, like, it was bad. It was bad. The sport is genuinely better without this man in it, and I don't think I could say that for most fucking people really on this list. It's not even a thought. So, unfortunately, I'm gonna put Jon Jones in the C tier. Moving on up next to the real clusterfuck incoming now of the light heavyweight champions. The belt was just really passed around pretty much for the next few years up until now, okay? This whole COVID era up to now, I mean, Jesus, it started with Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes fighting for the vacant title in 2020. And Blachowicz, that's how he won the belt. It was a devastating fucking knockout over our boy Dominic Reyes. God bless that he's actually on a fucking re-title run right now. Otherwise, I'd be very fucking sad talking about this. But there's faith that Dominic Reyes can go out there and beat Oldberg. But Blachowicz specifically, good knockout over Reyes for the vacant title, so he didn't actually have to beat the DC or the Jones or, you know, I mean, pretty much those two. They were running the show for a literal fucking decade. So he didn't have to beat one of those guys. And Dominic Reyes, I believe, was already coming off of a loss. No, it was just the Jon Jones performance. So technically he won, but he didn't fucking win. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's who Blachowicz won to beat the title. He got a good defense in over Israel Adesanya. And you remember like the post-fight presser and the post-fight interviews. Blachowicz, respect me now. I have great legendary Polish power. Respect me now. And like he was demanding the respect. The fans were loving it. Like, holy shit, Adesanya was a superstar at the time, all right? We didn't have too many stinkers yet, and he didn't really kind of have as many losses yet. So people were still really respecting that Adesanya win like it was fucking bliss, like it was glory, and as they should have. It was a really good win for Blachowicz. A good first defense, but it wasn't a guy that was even in his division, okay? So he won the belt from someone who wasn't the champ. It was a vacant title. And his only defense was defending against middleweight. When he actually fought the old man, the Unk himself, the S-tier Unk himself, Glover Teixeira, he ended up losing round 2 submission. He barely had any moments in that fight. So unfortunately, I'm going to put Blachowicz in the C tier. He did a little bit with the belt. He had a little bit of that championship aura. He got a defense in. But really, he was pretty fucking unsuccessful with the belt. I got to be honest. Like, I did appreciate the Blachowicz title run for what it was, but it was very short-lived. It's not too memorable. It's pretty fucking overlooked. The Reyes win was good, and the fact that he's winning right now in 2025 shows that it was a good win. And the win over Adesanya was good, but really, he just didn't do too much with the belt. And again, there's these holes in the title run where, unfortunately, I do like Blachowicz. I do get respect for Blachowicz, but I'm going to put him in the C tier, okay? Moving on up next to Glover Teixeira, and unfortunately, a legend of the game. I love the fucking story. The comeback kid who's now the comeback Unk. I love that Glover Teixeira Teixeira got the title. It's a great fucking story. He's taken losses for fucking years and years, and then he ends up, he was always in it, though. Like, Glover Teixeira was always getting wins, but for him to actually make his way to the belt, it was great to see. But unfortunately, I got to put him in the D tier. He just didn't do anything with it, man. He won the belt, came back a few months later, defended the belt, and it was a really, really fun fight against Yuri Prochazka. One of the genuine best fights you will ever fucking see, okay? One of the best of this era, at least. So it was an absolute barn burner, very close competitive fight. And you could argue that if Yuri Prochazka did not get that submission, it didn't have those moments in the last couple of minutes in the round, at the 5th round specifically, Glover Teixeira could have won that fight 3-2. But Prochazka, he's a finisher till the day he fucking dies, took him out of there. Glover Teixeira, it was a good submission over Blachowicz to win the belt, and it was a really fun fight against Prochazka, but unfortunately, let's go for that. I am, how I say, too far on the spectrum for you. So unfortunately, Glover Teixeira, it was a great story, but he just didn't do anything with the title. It was very short-lived and one of the more forgetful reigns for light heavyweight, unfortunately, okay? Moving on up next to Yuri Prochazka. Genuinely one of my favorite fighters, so I hate to do this. I really do, because the D tier is stacking the fuck up. But I gotta put Prochazka in the D tier, man. I swear to God. Compared to the flyweights through the lightweights, there was not this many motherfuckers in the D tier, bro. But here we are, man. But Prochazka just didn't do anything with the title. He won an absolute war and got a really last-minute submission against Glover Teixeira. It was a good win. It was a great win. But Jesus, I mean, the Teixeira that fought after that ended up just getting pieced up by Jamal Hill. We'll fucking get to that. And Prochazka himself just won the belt, got a really bad fucking injury. I believe it was in the shoulder, and they tried to pop it back in the gym, and that fucked it up more. I believe it was that injury, and they're talking about him on Joe Rogan like he's an ancient god. And I'm going to say Yuri Prochazka, though, it could have been a really fun title reign. He would have been active. He would have been entertaining. He still is now. He's on paper what could be an ideal champion, but when he actually did have the belt, he literally didn't do anything with it. It's not his fault, but he got fucking injured. It's very unfortunate, but unfortunately just one of these champions where you do question, you're like, holy shit, Yuri Prochazka, I forgot he had the fucking belt for a second there. So unfortunately, for as much as I love Yuri, I got to put him in the D tier, okay? Moving on up next to Jamal Hill. Are you going to wonder where I'm going to put this fucking guy, dude? I gotta put Jamal Hill. Shocker, boys. Yeah, what was the question? Jamal Hill, he's not going in S, not going in A, not going in B, and not going in C. I gotta put Jamal Hill in the D tier, bro. I genuinely, like, at least when I'm looking at my computer right now, it's gonna be on your screen, but I literally forgot to even put Jamal Hill here. All right, I forgot about Jamal fucking Hill. What can I even say, man? He won the belt over a about as washed as you can get almost, Glover Teixeira. It was like a short-minute fight that Teixeira took. Yes, it was in his home crowd of Brazil, but they were like throwing shit at him. They were all leaving the arena. I think that was bullshit. They should have stuck around. I'm still pissed they didn't stick around for Glover Teixeira's retirement. That fucking crowd. But regardless, it was a good win, but then he just did like the kind of at-home version of what Yuri did. It's just another champion that got the vacant title after the month before the vacant title went to a draw. So they were just trying to find somebody to just be the champion. Jamal Hill finally, after all these months, gets a hold of the title, and then he gets injured. And then he relinquishes the title. So at that point, it just hurt even worse. At least with Yuri, you're like, okay, respect. We can try and move on the division. But at that point, we just wanted a champion. And Jamal finally at least won the belt. He was ranked like number fucking 8. But at least he won the belt. And it just was what it was. He got injured. And then we went on to Pereira afterwards. I gotta fucking put him in the D tier. Moving on up next to Alex motherfucking Pereira, okay? I purposely didn't include him in the middleweights. I kind of wanted to include that Adesanya win in here because he didn't do much with the middleweight belt, but he did win it, okay? But mostly focusing on the light heavyweight run. That's what really kind of made the superstardom, what kind of made the career, what really showed off the activity at top tier level of Alex fucking Pereira, okay? I gotta put Pereira in the S tier. I'm sick of putting everybody in D, C, C. I mean, Jesus, man. Alex Pereira was a fantastic champion, man. I genuinely missed the title run. I'm not ranking Big Ank because he really didn't have a run yet, but I genuinely forgot that Big Ank is the current champion. Like, I missed the Alex Pereira title run, man. It sucks to see that people are kind of falling off and putting respect on him because genuinely, the dude is still very good. Still one of the best strikers and kickboxers specifically in the UFC, man. And the fact that, again, it was a close fight against Magomedov. He almost fucking had him, my boys. But in general, Magomed, it was a clear win for him. Alex Pereira just lacked that urgency, lacked that finishing ability. He looked slow in there, and it is what it is. He's damn near almost 40, and he was fighting every other fucking week, it seemed like. But the actual title run, man, I really loved it. Most of us fucking did, taking on all contenders. Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka twice. It was pretty much the Max Holloway and the Robert Whittaker, a fucking light heavyweight. And then also taking on Khalil Roundtree, which is aging well because Roundtree proved that he's actually top 7 levels some fucking how, but there he fucking is. So Pereira, man, I did really enjoy it. I wish he got another defense in or two. I feel like he could have gotten closer to like that DC and Jones level, but unfortunately, I just feel like he didn't do enough, and you got to question the Khalil wins a little bit. I know we said, I literally just fucking said that it's a valid win, but you know what I'm saying. For Pereira's run, I would honestly think that in terms of comparing it to like a DC, I mean, maybe it's closer than I think, because DC's win over Volkan Ozdemir is probably similar to like Pereira's win over Khalil Roundtree, so maybe I should look at it that way, but still, DC did have a little bit more of that quality and quantity, whereas Pereira, he did have some quality. He did have some quantity. Beating Adesanya as well. I got to include that in here, like I said. But just losing right away. But then again, he was a jolly green motherfucking giant for the division. So I can understand that light heavyweight is a much better mold for him. So Alex Pereira, I'm going to put him in the S tier. Very active. He didn't need to hype up the fights or speak a blink of English. The fighting style and the activity and the aura fucking alone was enough, okay? Thoroughly enjoyed the run. I'm going to put it in the S tier. Moving on up next and finally getting to the big boys. We're getting to the heavyweights now. And we're starting with Fabricio Verdum, who won the belt in 2015. Or I'm sorry, he won it in 2014 and then lost it to Stipe in 2016. So he had the belt for about a year or two there. He got one defense in. And you know what? Because of the respect that people forget, man, the respect for the legends, and because D tier is stacking up worse than Michael and Stanley outside for Pretzel Day, it really is. I'm going to put him in the C tier instead of D, okay? I can't put any more souls in D. All these champions, all these people who have achieved the peak of the sport in the D tier, okay? It's filling the hell up. He's hitting up. But honestly, dude, I got to put Verdum in the C tier because to knock out Mark Hunt, it was like a flying knee, I believe, okay? Sick knockout, got the bonus, but it is Mark Hunt, okay? Nothing crazy to win the fucking belt. And it's not like Mark Hunt was an actual champion himself. And then to be able to submit Cain Velasquez, though, in your first defense, and it's not too old of a Cain, 2015 Cain, pretty good performance, okay? Nice back and forth while it lasted. And then that was just kind of it. Reign is over. He ended up getting knocked out by Stipe that next defense. So it is what it is. I'm going to put him in the C tier. Beating Mark Hunt and beating Cain Velasquez both by finish is impressive. And for heavyweight, it's not like a lot of these guys hold on to the belt for very fucking long anyways. So at the end of the day, a heavyweight title run is like a really good Netflix show you get for like a season or two. Okay, not one of these long drawn out animes or whatever the fuck you get for like 20 seasons. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Heavyweight title runs are very usually short. They're sweet if you're lucky. Fabricio Verdum, he was lucky enough. He got the defense in, got a couple of names. A lot of his key wins on his resume, similar to some other guys on this list, like a Piotr Jan or a Robert Whittaker, came from outside of his title run. You know what I mean? So I'm going to put Verdum in the C tier. Moving on up next to Stipe Miocic, man. And you know what? Before I even start praising and glazing Stipe Miocic, the first thing that came to my mind, y'all remember that clip of Joey Diaz on Rogan? He's like, fucking Kalabeev and fucking Miocic. This guy's a fucking... Like, you know that shit? I just had a fucking aneurysm. Miocic, he's made it out. What did he kept saying? He said he's got that immigrant mentality. That's what it is. He's got that fucking immigrant mentality. Like, Stipe Miocic, I'm going to put him in the S tier. Suck my dick, dude. I loved the title reign of Stipe Miocic. Yes, could have defended the belt like one or two more times. And yes, could have been a little bit more active. But dude, he's the heavyweight GOAT. For a heavyweight, he defended the belt probably as many times as you fucking could in this lifetime, okay? It only takes kind of like the rare talents, like a Tom Aspinall, and even he's already beat most of the fucking rankings to actually surpass a guy like Stipe. And even that's a maybe, you know what I'm saying? But for Stipe's legacy, he was on top for so long, got multiple defenses in, lost the belt to Cormier, and then won it back against Cormier. A rematch that he was losing most of, and then he got a fucking like 4th or 5th round knockout, and then came back and beat up an old man DC in the trilogy. Yes, he lost right after that, but still, man, getting these wins over Ngannou, JDS, Alistair Overeem, Fabricio Verdum, Daniel Cormier, these are former champions, man, or guys that went on to win the belt like an Ngannou. You know what I'm saying? So Stipe Miocic, he had the quality, he had the quantity. And like for me, man, when I was a little young lad getting into the UFC, like I know I was a big DC guy, but I did rock with Stipe as well, man. He had kind of that heavyweight champ aura to him, and he was representing Cleveland, okay? I remember this shit like it was yesterday. People forget, man, but I thoroughly enjoyed the reign of Stipe Miocic, wished for a little bit more activity, but honestly, he was consistently getting knockouts, and the only fight that he went to the distance in his entire title run was against Francis Ngannou, and that was just a marauder meets marauder performance, showing experience gaps, and that was like a very prime Stipe. Ngannou on the come up. So at the end of the day, man, Miocic, knockout after knockout, bonus after bonus, beat all the top contenders. And he wasn't too good at really like hyping up or selling the fight, but he didn't need it. You were just getting a simple man who's doing simple fighter things, and he's got simple power behind his hands. It was very sweet but simple setup with Stipe going into these title fights, okay? I'm going to put him in the S tier. I really enjoyed the reign. And he became the heavyweight GOAT that might not be passed for a little fucking while besides Tom Aspinall, you know what I mean? So moving on up next to Francis Ngannou. And I feel like that this one might be a little bit controversial, but again, you gotta fucking hear me out here, man. I'm gonna put him in the C tier. I am. Like, you gotta realize, I'm not ranking these guys off their entire career. Khabib, yeah, sure, he was like 29-0, but only 3 of his fights were the actual title reign. I'm going purely off of their title runs. And for Francis Ngannou, most of these key wins over JDS, Rosenstruck, Cain Velasquez, Curtis Blades, Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, like, Francis Ngannou is genuinely like a top 5 heavyweight of all time. Very fucking good. Some of the craziest power we've ever seen. He only lost twice in the UFC, and one was to Stipe, who he got that win back, and the other was over the Marauder himself, Derek motherfucking Lewis. So in general, man, Ngannou had a fantastic career in the UFC. Everybody was rocking with Francis, but the actual title run right before he made his way out the UFC was very short-lived, made massive improvements in the defensive grappling and the takedown defense. To be able to shuck off Stipe Miocic and then knocked him out in round 2. Great way to win the belt, great passing of the torch, great improvements that were made, okay? I hope Stipe Miocic has woken up since. But then only defending the belt almost a literal calendar year later against Cyril Gane in a bit of a... I mean, for heavyweight standards, man, it just wasn't a good fight. It just was a pretty slow back and forth, not too many moments in general, and it was nice to see, I guess, wrestling from Ngannou. He was mixing up in the offensive end, but it was a stinker of a fight, and then Ngannou bounced. That was the title run in Ngannou. He could have been the champion that beat John Jones and became the heavyweight GOAT and got defense after defense, but he just didn't stay in the UFC for long enough. He had that potential to become the heavyweight GOAT. He was on his way to it, but a bit too inactive with the title run, and it was just so short-lived. I'm going to put him in the C tier. What he did do, he did it good. He beat Cyril Gane, who was a top 3 guy, and he beat Stipe Miocic, who was the heavyweight GOAT. It was a good title run, but again, like for Doom, it's not just about the quality of the wins. You need the quantity as well, okay? I'm not saying that Mark Hunt is equivalent to a Cyril Gane win, by the way, but you get my point, okay? That's why I'm putting him in the C tier. Wish we got more out of Ngannou as champion, man. I feel like we could have enjoyed the reign, but it is what it is. It is what it is, brother. Moving on to the last one we got here, and this one, I don't even know if I should rank Tom Aspinall or how to rank Tom Aspinall, because like I want to put Aspinall in like an S or an A purely out of just how much I enjoy him. But really, in terms of him being a champion, bro, I feel like I got to put him in like the C tier. I feel like he has all the tools to just want to fight and to want to be an active champion and want to get the fuck after it. It's not his fault that his title reign has been very slow and dragged out. Like, again, the whole clusterfuck of Tom Aspinall becoming the champ is not his fault. He's always been prepared to fight the champion. He's always been prepared to be promoted to undisputed ever since he won the interim title. It wasn't his fault. It was the UFC trying to get the Jones fight. It was Jones himself and all the Mr. Unreliable type shit. So for Tom Aspinall, I think he could become the heavyweight GOAT. I think he has a lot of potential, but he is kind of the champion beyond like a JDM and a Magomed Ankalaev and a Khamzat Chimaev, to where I do kind of have to rank him. But again, he just won the undisputed belt. He still has to defend against Gane, but again, he's had gold attached to his shoulder since 2023, November 2023, technically. I know that's crazy to say how long this arc has been, this evil-ass arc of Aspinall becoming the undisputed champ, but I'm gonna put him in the C tier here, okay? We just haven't seen too much out of it yet. He obviously could go up to S. He obviously could go up to A. But for right now, only like defending the interim title once. Again, not his fault. The fact that he was the longest reigning interim champion and actually defended it, good on him. I mean, it's really sad. It's actually pretty fucking sad that he had to do that. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry to Aspinall, Jesus. But in general, there's so much potential here. He's constant entertainment. He wants to be active. I think he will be active, and I hope he continues to win. But I'm only putting him in C because we just haven't seen too much yet. You know what I mean? He just needs to continue to move up. He needs to be more active. It's not his fault. It hasn't been his fault. Here we go, moving the fuck forward. From the time UFC 321 goes down to onwards, hopefully we actually get a career now, an active career out of Tom Aspinall. It's like we are all like this, okay, on the same page. We just want Tom Aspinall to fight, all right? So much potential, very entertaining, love the guy, but I'm going to put him in the C tier, okay? And that's going to be it, boys. Just wrapped up the heavyweights and everything like that of the such. And there we go with another long-ass yap session. If you made it this far in the video, dude, I appreciate you, man. Especially if you watch both parts. Jesus, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so very much for giving me your time and attention. And, dude, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know where you're coming from. Which takes did I get right and which ones did I get wrong? I'd love to fucking hear it, boys. So, again, thank you so very much for giving me your time and attention. It means the world to me. All the smoke here. Hope you have a good one, boys. I did ass with picks for Noche UFC, so it is what it is. Hopefully we move on to Perth pretty well, and I will see you all next